yes, here we go. It is week 6 in the National Football League, the 1/3 mark of the NFL season for most of the teams in the league. Guys, as we get you ready for week 6 of the league, this is the week that has been obviously dominated by injuries to some big-name players like Justin Jefferson and Anthony Richardson and so many more that we will go through over the course of this segment. But we got one more 14-hour football Sunday in the works, starting in London, ending back in the States, and an interesting Monday night game out in LA. So are we all ready to do this thing?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, and here we go. And as we get you set here as we start week number 6, Nick D is still in the lead with 108 points, but it is getting very, very close after that. Tom has 102. I've got 97, and so does Ben. Nick Morgasen has 95, and Hank and Paul both have 90. Big shout out to Hank last week. He almost had a near perfect week last week at 12-2 against the spread for 23 points. So Hank is on fire. And Zan had a good opening week too. He went 9-5 for 18 points. And Zan, it's great to have you back again this week. So another full house on tap, another big slate of games here as we get you ready for week 6 in the NFL. And let's start overseas one more time in London. And Hank, you're on fire, so we'll start with you. It's a Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner, Jamie Erdahl special on the NFL Network as Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens take on Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the Tennessee Titans. And at Tottenham Stadium, the Ravens are a 4-point favorite.
Well, you know what? To start off in this game in London, I'm going to go with the upset special. Sorry, that was one of my worst British accents. I'm just going to go with my normal voice here. But in any event, yeah, you guys know I don't trust Lamar any more than I can throw him, and they really blew that game last week against the Steelers. I mean, John Harbaugh going for it rather than taking the points when you have Justin Tucker, dude. What were you thinking? I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm starting to think that John Harbaugh is getting past his expiration date. Give me the Titans as an upset special.
Good start. Let's go to Paul.
Yeah, I mean, this one's going to be close. It's tough. I'm kind of going back and forth on this one just because of how badly the Ravens played this past week. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens, though, to bounce back over the Titans. Again, I'm not in love with what the Titans have been doing this season. I think that they've been extremely inconsistent, very up and down. And the Ravens, all in all, have had a pretty good year. So I'm going to go with the Ravens at -4.
Okay, Nick.
Well, this is a weird... the timing of the schedule sometimes plays out. And right now, the Ravens don't look good. I know, like, they had a chance to do the... I think that historically it would have been a sweep of all divisional opponents on the road. That would have been an insane statistic if they pulled that off. The way they finished that game was just awful. They blew every opportunity. I think they threw a pick in the end zone also, which was a crucial moment in the game. Lamar looks a little lost out there, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but he does look lost offensively. Now, like Paul said, I don't like the Titans either. The Titans are a question mark. You don't know what you're going to get every week. But the Ravens, I don't like what's happening right now. They blew everybody's... I'm sure Vegas was very happy with the Ravens last week, the way they played the end of that fourth quarter. I'm taking the upset special to Titans +4.
Oh, nice. I like it. But I'm going to go the other way here because the Ravens, they may have stalled out last Sunday, guys, but they're not going to stall out 2 Sundays in a row. The other thing, too, is they left for London earlier than the Titans did, trying to get acclimated early. You know, we saw that May worked with the Jaguars being in London for 2 straight weeks. But you look at the Ravens team here. They have an edge on defense. They have an edge on the ground because Derrick Henry is off to an even slower start than usual. And they still do have Lamar Jackson at the end of the day. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't his fault that the Ravens dropped 5 passes last Sunday. So in game number 1, we are going to take the pounds with the Ravens over the Titans, Zan.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where you kind of don't know. These are 2 teams that have kind of struggled the last few weeks. Obviously, the Ravens losing to Pittsburgh in one of the worst fashions that you could lose. But this is one of those games, too, where I feel like it's a get-right game for Lamar. And I think that anyone who counted the Ravens out after last week won't be counting them out any longer. They're just simply the better football team. I like the Ravens -4 here to start off.
Nick D?
I'm going with the upset special. The weird thing, look, I'm not a fan of either of these teams, but the Titans tend to be good when you least expect them to against good opponents, which is what they've done this year. So I would have to go with the Titans on this. I mean, the Ravens, both teams are a little bit of a wild card, but the Titans, they seem to play up and down to their competition. So I'd have to go with the Titans +4.
So we got 3 upset specials here so far. What about you, Ben?
So I have the Ravens to win, but I have the Titans to cover. The Ravens in the last 4 games have been within 3-point games outside of, I believe, the blowout against the Browns. So with that being said, the Titans and Ravens have both been in close games. So I look at 2 of the quarterbacks. I take Lamar over Ryan Tannehill any day. I look at the coaching. I think it's pretty even between Harbaugh and Vrabel, but it's in London or whatever, overseas. I'm going to go with the Ravens here to win, but the Titans to cover. I think it's going to be a really close game, and with it being overseas, like anything can really happen.
There we go. And Tom Albano will take the Ravens and the Pounds against the Titans out in London. And this will be the last overseas game for a few weeks, and then we will get some Frankfurt games involved. I know Nick Morgasen is happy about that because he could bring back his upset special graphics in German like we did last year, and we'll do that a couple of times. So kind of a split call here in London in game number 1. Nick DiMartino, it's an Andrew Catalon, Tiki Barber, Matt Ryan, and AJ Ross special on CBS as the Washington Commanders take on the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons at home are laying 2.5.
I'm also going to go with the upset on this. I'm not a fan of either team. I mean, the Falcons aren't that good for a 3-2 team. For some reason, my gut is telling me the Commanders are going to be able to keep this close. I would not touch this game, and I'm not going to say with a 10-foot pole because that's not my phrase. I'm never going to put any real money on this, but I'm going to have to go with the Commanders on this.
That's fair. Ben?
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I'm going to go with the Commanders at +2.5. The Falcons is a very up and down team. You know, there'll be 1 week where they look decent. Desmond Ridder, I just can't just trust him consistently. And, you know, Commanders at least have a pretty decent defensive front. I think that they get enough to Desmond Ridder to create some distractions on him. And I got to say, Sam Howell's been pretty impressive, you know, in terms of his slow overall stint so far. And obviously the really tough loss against the Bears last week. I think they bounced back and beat the Falcons.
Hank?
Alrighty, I am going to go with – oh, God, do I even think of going with the coin flip? Nah, I'm going to go with the Falcons by default. You guys pretty much know how I feel about the Commanders. They're really, I should call them the Commanders because they have no D.
Jeez.
Give me the Falcons.
All right, Paul, try and top that.
I'm good. I'm going to go the opposite of Hank. I'm going to say the Commanders, and I'm going to follow with Nick and Ben. I'm going to go with the Commanders at +2.5. I think that their defense has been coming around a little bit, and the Falcons are just too big of a question mark. They have not been that good, just like Nick said, that they're a bad 3-2 team. Nick, I can see you want to throw something in.
Right. I was just going to say the Commanders are pretty clearly a better team than any of the teams that Atlanta's beaten this year. And 2 of them were by like 1 or 2 points. Yeah. The Packers by 1 point and the Texans by 2 points. The Commanders are at least arguably better than all 3 of the teams that they've beaten.
Yeah. And Sam Howell's playing pretty solidly. So I'm definitely going with the Commanders on this one at +2.5. I think that they win outright as well.
All right, Nick Morgasen, what do you think here?
This is and by the way, I took the Falcons last week. Or actually, I went against the Falcons last week because they came off of London. Usually the statistics, if I can get that word out, when you come out of London are usually not in your favor because you're traveling back, especially with no bye week. And Atlanta blew that up in my face big time and won against Houston, which has been playing decent football for the most part. I think we're forgetting also that Sam Howell is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL so far this year, and his offensive line is also a turnstile. Seems pretty familiar considering it's in the same division. But I don't know. This one is up in the air again. I don't like Ritter. I'm not a fan. He's too inconsistent for me. So in that theory alone, I'm going to take Commanders plus 2.5.
Oh, wow, guys. I'm totally with Hank, though. I'm taking the Falcons because the Commanders' defense has been atrocious the last 4 weeks. I mean, you were hit in the mouth by previous winless Bears team last Thursday, and you want to say maybe they got a few extra days to rest, which may help, but they have major problem areas. Nick's right. Sam Howell's been sacked a ton here. He's been sacked 29 times. He's been hit more than any other quarterback this season. And like I said, Washington's defense has allowed at least 30 points in each of its last 4 games. And as much as I was getting ready to say bench Desmond Ritter, well, last week he eclipsed 300 passing yards, and Atlanta's defense ranks in the top 10 in scoring. These two teams seem to be going in opposite directions, and Ritter is 5-0 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And laying less than a field goal, I'm going to take the money here with Atlanta.
But one thing I want to throw in also is I think Desmond Ritter is a huge mystery box. Sorry, Hank. But yes, I think he's a massive mystery box because, again, like you said, Johnny, he's going to throw for 300 yards one week, and then he's going to get sacked 7 or 8 times and throw for 100 yards and completely put their team out of the game. So that's why I think it's kind of a wild card.
Yeah, but I see what I took out of last week was the fact that he threw for 300 yards because I never thought he was going to have a 300-yard passing game considering that he doesn't need to because of how good their running game really is with Bijan Robinson and others. I mean, they've got a 3-headed running attack there. So the fact that he was able to air it out for 300 yards is actually quite impressive. And I mean, I was calling for the fact that he should have been benched after last week. Now I'm kind of wondering if Sam Howell's the one that needs to be benched considering how many turnovers and how many times he's getting sacked and hit. Maybe he's the one that needs to take a break, although that's not necessarily all of his fault. But also considering their defense and the Falcons play low-scoring games, I think that benefits Atlanta in this one. Zan, what do you think here?
Well, I'm going to say this. The team that makes the first mistake is going to lose the game. This just feels like a shaky game where whoever loses this game, I think, is out of contention and out of the running for an NFC wildcard. This is a big game early in the season where it could be a potential swing game, not just in the NFC, but in the wildcard picture in general. I'm going to say, though, that this Atlanta team, as I think was alluded to, I think Desmond Ritter's played extremely well at home so far this year, but the Commanders like to make things interesting. Give me the Falcons to win the game, but I like the Commanders to cover. But we're going to go with the 17-16 final score at the very end of regulation, a last-second field goal. That's what we're going to go with.
Oh, there you go. And you know what? Washington, Atlanta's field goal kicker has been pretty good. Koo there, he's pretty clutch. So maybe he goes down the field and they kick that field goal to win 17-16. I like that thought there, Zan. I don't like it for the fact that I pick Atlanta minus 2.5, who has also burned me a couple of times this year as a 1.5-point favorite even. So now laying 2.5, it would be another one of those bad beats. But I like your thinking there. And Tom Albano will also take the Falcons minus 2.5. So once again, another split decision, this time down in Atlanta. Well, Zan, we ended with you there. Let's start with you here. It is a Brandon Gaudin, Robert Smith, and Jen Hale special on Fox as your Chicago Bears are home to take on Tom's Minnesota Vikings with really Kirk Cousins and not much else now because Justin Jefferson is now on IR. And the Bears, your Bears, are getting 2.5 points at Soldier Field.
Yeah, no matter what year it is, Vikings-Bears is always close. It seems to usually be closer in Chicago. I expect a really high-scoring affair. I think Justin Fields picks up right where he left off a week ago. I think the Bears keep the game close. I think they lose a heartbreaker 30-28, but I think this is one of those games too where Minnesota loses this game and they lose it yet again by one score. That would be like the 5th game this season that they've lost by a score or less. I think you're going to see a lot of heads roll, and I think people are going to have a lot of questions as to whether or not this Vikings regime is the right coaching staff, because you cannot tell me that outside of the Kansas City game, there were a couple of games earlier in the year that Minnesota could have easily won that they lost themselves. And I feel like if they play down to their competition again, it's no trouble Again, I like the Vikings. I like Justin Fields to have a really good game, but I just see this one being another one of those games where the team that makes the first mistake might lose. So give me the Vikings, but still, I think the Bears keep it close. I think they keep it really interesting, and I think they keep the fans who decide to go to Soldier Field this weekend very entertained. And yes, I do know that the weather is supposed to be horrible here, but I don't think that will affect Fields being able to throw or run the ball. I think it'll be a very interesting game.
All right, Nick D.
Oh, I love the Vikings. Love the Vikings. These are 2 1-4 teams, but they're not equivalent 1-4 teams. The Vikings are much, much better. I normally wouldn't bet on them, especially after last week. Yeah, but I mean, the Vikings right now, especially the Bears coming off a big win from last week. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the Vikings.
And laying less than a field goal might help that.
It's only a field goal. That's it.
Yeah. Ben, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the Bears here at +2.5. No Justin Jefferson for the Vikings for the last couple of weeks. The Vikings seem to be spiraling down a little bit, and Justin Fields has played pretty good football in the last couple of weeks, so I think that he keeps it going. And it's going to be a close game like Zain mentioned, but I think that the Bears are playing a little better as of late now. I mean, both teams haven't been great this year, but without Justin Jefferson, that was a deal breaker for me. So give me the Bears at +2.5.
Hank?
Oh boy. Let me just take a look through the stack and grab a random one. Okay. Okay, Ryan Howard, do your thing.
Oh, he's the ultimate hit or miss guy.
That's a good point.
Oh, yeah, that's why I picked Ryan Howard. Okay, that flip was wonky, but I don't care. This was it's heads. Let's just go with the Vikings. I mean, we might as well I think the coin or the baseball card agreed with your checklist there, Johnny. So give me the Vikes.
Oh, that's right, the Kirk Cousins checklist, which we'll get to in just a moment here. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going to go with the Bears on this one at +2.5. I liked what I saw from them last week. I mean, obviously they played a tremendous game, destroyed the Commanders. So I think that they're going to keep rolling this week. It's a battle of 2 1-4 teams, so it's difficult. It's definitely and it's a divisional game too, so it's very difficult to predict those kind of games. This is definitely a game that I wouldn't touch. I definitely wouldn't put money on because I think it could go either way. But I'm going to go with the Bears taking care of business at home and the Vikings falling to 1-5, and a lot of interesting questions need to be answered after this weekend.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so this is an interesting, obviously, divisional game. At the same time, like Justin Jefferson is out on IR, missing 4 games. They're saying it could be more. I think it's going to be more. This is not the the first time he's had this injury. I don't like the way Kirk Cousins really looks right now. I know it's not 100% his fault, but the offense is really not there. I have the Bears in an upset, and actually, talking from a gambling standpoint, I would be tempted to take money line on this game, actually, with the Bears, and actually take them as an opportunity to win this outright, actually, because I think that Justin Jefferson is the offense for the Vikings. He's the go-to guy. He's the number one guy. When he's not out there, they fault under the pressure. They couldn't win that last drive. They had an opportunity to win that game against the Chiefs, and with him out in that last drive, it cost them. So I'm taking Bears outright here.
I'm actually switching my pick now that Eddie mentioned it. I'm switching my pick too, and not only am I taking the Bears to cover, I'm taking them to win the game. Yeah.
There it is. All right, so he's got a full upset special. Yeah, see, I love the fact the Bears are getting 2.5 points here, because this could even be a spot where the Vikings eke out a 1-point win, because that's just how it wouldn't be Vikings football without them maybe eking out a 1-point win here. But
for sure.
But if you think about it, though, the Bears, I know this is a very short sample size here, but they boast the league's #1 offense since the start of week 4. They've had explosive plays, in fact, the second most over the past 2 weeks, after tying for the fewest over the first 3 games. And the question is, can DJ Moore keep it going against the defense, which has been one of the best at limiting the big play? But my biggest question mark with this game is it's a very obvious one. How is Minnesota gonna roll without their best wide receiver and arguably the best wide receiver in football over the last couple of years. I mean, it
was against the Commanders and the Broncos, two pretty bad defenses.
Oh, I understand that. But, at the same time, this team was lifeless before that against anybody and everybody. So, this almost could be more of a play. Nick D, I think this is actually more of a play on Minnesota than it is on the Bears. And the fact that I'm getting 2.5 points at home in this one, I think it's my turn to do the upset special. I'm going to take the Bears plus 2.5 at Soldier Field. And again, I know the Vikings have been in pretty much every game, but I just don't know how they're going to be able to operate here without the number one wide receiver, because then you can double team Addison. They probably wish they had Adam Thielen back right now. I'll say that. So I'm going to go with the hot hand here, and hopefully this is not an overreaction play here. Is that I'm going to take the Bears plus 2.5 against the Vikings at home. The Kirk Cousins checklist, can we really apply it? He's not having his number one wide receiver. I mean, it's not nationally televised. I mean, I like Brandon Gaudin. Robert Smith's great. Jen Hale, I think, is one of the best sideline reporters in the business. But it's not nationally televised. It's not a primetime game. So, yeah, you would go with Kirk Cousins. But now that is number one receiver, it's almost like it's an incomplete play. So we can't really access that. I'm going to go with the Bears plus the 2.5 at Soldier Field. Tom, though, Mr. Viking in this group, is also taking the Bears plus 2.5. He's taking the Vikings to win, but he's not taking the money. He believes in Kirk, but he doesn't believe in the Minnesota defense. Those are his words. So, again, another split decision here at Soldier Field in this one.
Johnny, I was going to say, too, now that you mentioned it, you had mentioned this game is not nationally televised. Barely any of the country will get a chance to see it either. So
probably not, Zan. I'm just looking here. Yeah, I would imagine. And again, I like Brandon, Robert, and Jen, but I don't think they're going to get a lot of the country. No.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. I was thinking even down here in South Carolina, because Carolina's playing on CBS this week. I got to even see if we are even going to get a 1 p.m. Eastern Fox game. I'll check that out here as we move along here. But let me move along to this one here, and let me go to Paul. Paul, it's an Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn special on CBS as Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks come off their bye week. They go to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals are a field goal favorite.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I keep on going back and forth on this one. The Bengals are starting to put things together. I mean, Joe Burrow looked a lot better this past week, especially with his injury issues and everything. I'm probably going to go with the Bengals. It's in Cincinnati. Not sold on the Seahawks at all. And I think that the Bengals, it's going to be a matter of time before they start to get something going. Jamar Chase had a big week last week as well. So they're finally getting into the end zone for the first time. So I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one.
All right, Nick, I know you've been very critical on the Bengals this year. They had a big bounce back win last week. What do we think about them here?
I don't think they played well against the Cardinals. Can we all just be honest that it was a competitive game for most of it until the end? I mean,
you're supposed to beat the Cardinals anyway.
No, but I'm saying that it was too
Cardinals
close.
have been playing tough though, to be fair, all year.
I think the Cardinals
they're
have
1-4.
been messing up a lot of teams.
No, but I'm saying the Cardinals have been playing competitive football. Their record doesn't show it, but obviously they've been playing competitive football. But that game was way too close until the fourth quarter when they finally blew it away. So I don't think Burrow is right. I still think he's not healthy. I'm going upset special. I've been saying it all year. I'm taking Seahawks +3.
2 weeks ago, I would do the same thing. But I looked at the Bengals last week, and Joe Burrow looked healthy. And I think that's a big sign here. Now, Seattle coming off their bye week. This is a scenario where the Seahawks could run the ball down the Bengals' throat and earn a decisive win, because that's how Cincinnati's contests have gone so far. But this is also a scenario where the sense of urgency will at least be a little bit higher in Cincinnati's sideline. And the fact that Burrow isn't trending in the right direction, I think, helps. Now, are the Bengals back? I think it's a little bit too premature to answer that. If they win this game, though, go to 3-3 going to their bye week against, and then come out of it with some tough opponents, I think it's a different story. So DDTB, don't disrespect the Bengals, and DDJB, don't disrespect both Joe Burrow. I'm taking the money. Dan, go for it.
I'm taking the Bengals too. They sold me in the fourth quarter last week, and the one thing that I can say that's making me lean the Bengals away is and none of you guys have mentioned it yet. So well, Seattle has to travel cross country. They do not do well in the Eastern times when in October. At least the last couple of years. I think the same thing is going to ring true here. And I just think overall, when you look at roster for roster, position for position, the Bengals are the better football team. So I'm gonna take them.
Damn, Zan, I knew we should have played the Seahawks. I knew the Giants should have played the Seahawks in October. Damn. All right, Nick, what do we have?
I like the Bengals, and honestly, it's more about the Seahawks. My pick is more a referendum on the Seahawks than it is on the Bengals, because I really just don't think Seattle is that good. So far, they're 3-1. Only one of those wins really is that impressive, which was on the road against the Lions. Other than that, they've played a pretty weak schedule. I think the Bengals are progressively looking a little bit better. Also, the fact that they're at home, they've been a little bit better at home, even when Joe Burrow didn't look totally healthy. I mean, they lost by 3 points to the Ravens and won by 3 points to the Rams, both better teams than Seattle. So I really don't trust Seattle right now. Even if I don't think Joe Burrow is healthy completely. I mean, covering 2.5 points, even if they play bad, I think they should be able to cover.
I like that. I know Nick Morgasen's very, very critical of Cincinnati, and Nick D's been equally as critical of Seattle. That's always a fun one. Ben Kruse, what do you have?
I'm going to go with the Bengals here at -3. Obviously, I picked the Cardinals last week due to the recent struggles the Bengals had. But I think that Joe Burrow, I don't know if he's going to be fully back in terms of his cap at any point this year. But, last week was kind of the Joe Burrow that we're kind of accustomed to kind of knowing. A couple really nice deep passes. Jamar Chase obviously has looked, really good as of late, which is good. And they're plenty, I believe, had T. Higgins back too. The Seattle's a very good secondary, but I think with Higgins potentially back, remember this is a 10 a.m. game for the Seahawks. So, in terms of their overall thinking of it, 1 o'clock in terms of the mid to East Coast. I think that the Bengals are going to take care of business. They know that if they win this game, they could really be back into the swing of things here. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a really close game. But you also have to remember, too, that Seattle's coming off of a bye. And sometimes, with teams coming off of byes as well, just kind of very up and down in terms of how you feel about them. So, yeah, give me the Bengals. I think that they ride this off from last week.
And Hank?
Well, it's funny. Generally speaking, you guys know that I am the polar opposite of Nick when it comes to the Bengals. I had a feeling eventually they were going to turn things around, and guess what? I think that trend will continue. I happen to agree with Nick D as well that Seattle isn't quite as good of a team as we are making them out to be. So, you know what? I'm just going to say this right here, right now. Tom, shout out to you. DDTB. Give me the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I'm going to give you 2 quick nuggets here before we move on out of this game. 4 sacks per game the Seattle defense has been. They've done a solid job of rushing the passer. This would have been a spot 2 weeks ago that if Joe Burrow was playing, they could have sacked him 19 times, it feels like. But I think he should do much better against this pass rush. And also, here's a fun fact. The Seahawks are 0-3 coming off their bye week since 2020. Now, every year is different, but we'll see what they do here, though. That's going to be an interesting matchup, though. That Seattle defense, that pass rush going up against that vulnerable Cincinnati offensive line. And that'll be one to watch here. Ben, it's a Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi special on the NFL on Fox. Another West Coast team coming to the East Coast. The undefeated San Francisco 49ers taking on the Cleveland Browns. Again, injuries have been a big theme this week in the NFL. Does not look like it's going to be DeShaun Watson. If DeShaun does not start, we could be looking at P.J. Walker there for the Cleveland Browns, and that is why this line has shot up on Thursday. The 49ers are a 10-point road favorite here, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like it's, I'm going to say a gimme win for the Niners, but listen, they've been by far the best team completely in terms of from weeks 1 to now week 6. I mean, heck, I know Dallas. I'm not really as big as Dallas as some other people think, but they absolutely destroyed them on primetime last week. The thing about the Niners too is they have different guys in terms of the receiving core that can just go off any week. You saw George Kittle last week. A couple weeks ago it was Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. So the Browns, obviously without DeShaun Watson, obviously hurts a little bit, but the Browns offense specifically too is very up and down, and I just think that that Browns team against this 49ers team, I just think is a very big mismatch right now. So, yeah, give me the points here. And the 49ers have been, like I said, 30 plus points or more in pretty much almost every single game. There's no way I could see that the Browns catch up to a team like this. So, yeah, give me the 49ers.
What do you say, Hank?
Well, first of all, the reason I was pounding my fist, 3-0 Rangers, let's go.
That's
and
right.
Second of all, this game, you know what this gesture pretty much means.
Yeah.
Lock it up. Give me the 49ers.
Like it.
Nice. So Hank for the second straight week is picking a double-digit bench lock. I like it. It worked last week. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going with the 49ers too on this one. I think that this is a pretty easy one to take. I mean, even at -10, it's a big spread, but the Browns, DeShaun Watson might not even play. P.J. Walker's going to step in. I am not sold at all on the Browns not getting destroyed in this one. I think the 49ers by far are the best team in the NFC. I've got them over the Eagles right now, in my opinion. I think that their offense is just way too much to handle, so I'm going with the 49ers.
What do you say, Nick Morgasen?
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy. The Niners are the best offensive team in the NFL right now. Best running back in the NFL, possible MVP caliber type play so far for Christian McCaffrey. George Kittle had 3 touchdowns last week. Of course, the NFL is being stupid as they're going to possibly fine Kittle for wearing the F Dallas shirt under his jersey, which I think is the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. But like everyone else would say, they also have Ayuk, they have Debo. They have so many offensive weapons that the Browns are not going to be able to keep up. Also, not that I was a big fan of DeShaun anyway, but he's not going to start. It looks like it's trending towards him not going to start. I'm with Hank on this one. It's a cover, and it's a lock for me, too.
I'm just trying to think real quick. When was the last time that a road favorite going to the a West Coast road favorite going to the East Coast was a double-digit favorite? I mean, that is scary. That just proves how great the 49ers are. I'm not going to add much to this. The only thing I'll say is here's a fun fact. The 49ers have trailed for 1 minute and 45 seconds all season.
Insane.
I would not actually bench lock this game because the Browns defense may, at the end of the day, keep this a little bit inside that number. But I can't go against the Niners, guys. They're too good. I know this number has jumped 3 points in a day, but I'm going to take the money, but I wouldn't lock this game. I think I have a better play, and I'll get that coming up here. But I will take the money here with the Niners.
I mean, yeah, this is one of those games where it's not a sleeper by any means. We should know who wins this game. The 49ers are simply the better team, and without DeShaun Watson, I think it's going to be a long day potentially for P.J. Walker. Give me the 49ers to win and cover it. And similarly to you, Johnny, I'm making this my bench lock either, and you'll see what my bench lock is in a little bit.
And Nick D, what do you have here?
Oh, the Niners. I mean, 4 out of 5 games they've covered 10 points, except for the game against the Rams. So if they can do that against all those games, they should easily be able to do it in this game. And DeShaun Watson's probably not playing, and even if he somehow does play, he's not going to be 100% anyway. So the Niners have been winning these games by pretty big margins, pretty much all of them. So it should be a pretty easy one for the Niners.
By the way, I think Sean McVay might have had some money on that game.
Yeah, talking about a bad beat there. Yeah, see, I got to tell you, like the only two things that kind of scare me here with the full 10-point spread here, despite the fact how dominant the Niners have been, could be the possible weather there in Cleveland. And Cleveland's defense is still very, very good, but they haven't gone up against a lethal offense like this. And, I don't put much into the West Coast team coming cross country, play the East Coast in the early window because it hasn't really played out that way these last couple of years. The 49ers have been the best team in the league by a country mile, it seems like, this year. And Tom, by the way, he is also going to take the Niners, and he's also making it his bench lock. So we've got three guys here taking the money and the lock here on a double-digit spread with the Niners plus 10 against the Browns. It's a Chris Myers, Mark Schlereth, and Christina Pink special on Fox. Nick Morgasen, it is the New Orleans Saints taking on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, and the Saints are a 1.5-point road favorite.
So I've been on the Texans train for the last couple of weeks just because I like the way they've been playing. I kind of got a little disappointed the way they played last week. I don't know what's going on there. Like I said, with the Falcons coming out of London, I thought the Texans would jump all over it. They didn't. Now, the Saints situation is kind of up and down, obviously with Derek Carr being played, but he's still dealing with that injury. Kamara is obviously back. Obviously, that makes a huge difference in the game. I think the Saints are going to win this one. Take the money.
So the most intriguing matchup in this game is C.J. Stroud against the Saints' formidable defense. And, Stroud won 186 pass attempts without interception, which is the most consecutive attempts without interception to begin a career in NFL history. But against this Saints defense, they have 7 interceptions, which is tied for the second most in the league. And also, history is not on C.J. Stroud's side. Rookie quarterbacks, they're 2-8 when starting against the Saints in the last 5 seasons. I think the Saints defense gets this one done by a field goal. I think Stroud still plays all right, but the Saints defense to me is the play in this one. I would take the money here with the Saints against Houston.
Wait, Zan, you're muted.
Oh, Tony Reality's back again.
Wait, still muted. Hold on. Zan, I think your mic got disconnected. All right, someone go. Well,
let me go to Nick D, and I'll go back to him. Nick D, what do you think?
Okay, so I like the Saints. I like the Saints since Derek Carr is now active. The Saints are a pretty good team. I mean, the Texans have gotten better. They haven't been, but I'm not sold on them yet. Like Stroud is still young, and they're still not good. Even though they've had a few flashes in the pan, like pretty much every bad team has, except for the Panthers. So I really like it. I really like the Saints. I even like the Saints to win the division. I've been pretty high on the Saints this year for the most part.
Ben?
Yeah, this was kind of a game where I was kind of potentially in the Texans, maybe a couple weeks ago, but the Saints obviously they blew us out. I mean, bad last week. But I mean, that defense of the Saints is still pretty good. They're getting Alvin Kamara back for, I believe, now the 3rd straight week. They're starting to kind of figure some things out a little bit. And with CJ Stroud against that Saints defense, I'm not feeling too confident about that. Even though he's played pretty well at home this year. But yeah, give me the Saints here to cover the -1.5 here.
All right, Hank, go for it.
All right, so this is going to be another one of those coin flip games. So,
In Hank's case, card flip.
Yeah,
card flip, yeah.
And again, it's a gamble. So,
of course it is.
Peter Edward Rose Sr. So let's flip this. Upset special. Give me the Texans.
Oh,
there's one.
Like it.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I actually even consider this to possibly be my lock. I thought that I'm not going to take it. Not going to be that crazy, but I do think the Saints are going to win this game. I think it's a very small spread too. I like the Texans. I like what they've been putting together. I like CJ Stroud's been having a great year. Could be the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I think that the Saints are going to put up some numbers. They've been a little bit inconsistent, but Derek Carr I think we'll be able to get some stuff going, and they'll easily take care of the Texans.
All right, Zan, let's try you again. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. You guys should be able to hear me now. I like that.
Yeah, we got you.
I like the Saints here. This is a pretty easy pick. Just considering that CJ Stroud again, and we have to remember he is a rookie quarterback. But let's face it, here he's simply playing a better defense, and I love the way the Saints played against New England, and they proved me entirely wrong last week with their 34-0 shutout, and I really like the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. I think the Texans will keep it close. It'll be a really exciting game, but I want the Saints to cover the 1.5 and maybe win between 7 and 10 points. So,
all right, and let's see here. Tom is also going to take the Saints, so that means Hank's going to be the lone wolf here in Houston. And before you say anything else, lone wolves did great last week. Let's see what they could do this week. Well, Hank, let's go to you here. It's a Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Amanda Renner special on CBS as Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts take on Trevor Lawrence and your Jacksonville Jaguars. And back home for the Jaguars in the States at Everbank Stadium, the Jags are a 4-point favorite.
And you know what? I will gladly jump on this favorite. Colts are going to be without Anthony Richardson. This really isn't that difficult of a call. Give me the Jaguars to continue. Let me give you this fun fact. I believe this will be their 10th consecutive win against the Colts at home. Colts have not won there, fun fact, since I was a senior in high school.
Yeah, they've been pretty dominant with them at home. Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jaguars too. First game back after 2 weeks in London. The Colts, I think Minshew has been doing a great job holding it up for Anthony Richardson right now, but the Jaguars are tough and they're starting to get things going slowly but surely, so I'm going to go with them.
Nick, what you
Yeah,
say here?
I think this is a pretty simple game. No Anthony Richardson, who keeps getting hurt and can't seem to avoid the hits because I'm seeing more with the mobile quarterbacks today. They just cannot avoid the hits as they try to get out of the pocket. The Colts, I know they just got JT back, the running back position, 3 years, $42 million, third highest paid running back in the league right now. Yeah, I don't like the Colts in this situation. Jaguars are also a better home team. So I'm taking the Jaguars to cover.
However, the Jaguars are 0-2 at Everbank Stadium so far this year. I actually am taking the Colts getting 4 points here, guys. I think they're going to keep this one really close. If you look at it, this is their 4th division game in 6 weeks, and Gardner Minshew has been efficient. And you've also now got Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor there in the backfield to give Indy a little bit more run support. And they're frisky. One thing about them, we thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year, and they have been very, very frisky. We know they beat the Ravens earlier in the year. I'm not sure they're going to be able to win this one totally, but I will take them getting the 4. I think they keep this within a field goal down there at Everbank Stadium. And the Jags, they've struggled at points at home this year. So we saw them, play a close, low-scoring game with the Chiefs.
Well, they're not playing at home. They're not in London.
No, I understand that, but they haven't won at home so far this year. Yeah, London too. But
Hey, home away from home.
Back in the States, but at their
The London Jaguars.
American home, they're 0-2. I think they still win this, but I actually think it's going to be inside the number. So that's why I'm going to go with Indy in this spot, Zan.
yeah, and another high-octane AFC South battle here. And I think it's one of those games where it remains really close. And I'm with you on this one, Johnny. I like the Colts to cover. I don't think they win the game, but I think they give Trevor Lawrence all he can handle. And now with Jonathan Taylor finally getting his money and stuff, and I think with the way the Colts offense has been playing as of late, it's going to be a very exciting game. Give me the Jaguars to win by a field goal, 23-20. But don't be surprised if the Colts go into Everbank Stadium and win this game, because I think the AFC South is being slept on a little bit, as we've alluded to on this show already. The Houston Texans have been playing better football than the record indicates, and I think these are the other two really, really good teams in the division just in terms of quality football. So I expect this one to be close. Or give me the Colts to win and cover on the road.
Nick, what do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, the Colts are, first of all, I think the Jaguars are in for a letdown after 2 pretty big wins in London. Not to mention the whole jet lag thing. It's not easy coming back from London. But besides that, even if they weren't coming back from London, I still think they're due for a letdown. And the Colts have been good. I mean, they're 3-2, but they're a really good 3-2, unlike the Falcons, or like the other end of the 3-2 from the Falcons. They've been good. I mean, they beat the Ravens. They took the Rams to overtime in that one game. And so neither of the games that they lost were really all that bad. And the Colts have been looking a lot better lately. I think they look better under Gardner Minshew than they do under Anthony Richardson. And that's not a knock on Richardson. I really think the Colts – I don't just think the Colts are going to cover. I think they'll win outright.
Oh, the full upset special. I like it. All right, Ben.
I normally don't like upsets, but –
I know that is unusual for you, but I like your thinking there. All right, Ben, what do we have here?
Yeah, AFC South showdown. 2 teams that played technically pretty tight games. No Anthony Richardson in this one, obviously, but Gardner Minshew. I mean, I feel like he's a pretty serviceable quarterback. I mean, he could probably start for a lot of teams that really need a quarterback right now, and he's played pretty decent with them. I mean, like Nick was mentioning, he went toe-to-toe with the Ravens earlier on in the season. Even won that game in overtime, I believe, with them. So, yeah, I think that the Jags win this game, but I think that the Colts cover. I think it's going to be like a 27-24 type of game. And I do think that the Jaguars have a little bit of a letdown, but I do think that they'll come up on top because their offense is starting to click a little bit. So, yeah, give me the Jags with the Colts cover.
I wonder how it would have been last week. I mean, obviously, fallacy of a predetermined outcome, a phrase we like to use here a lot. But I wonder, with all the injuries that the Bills had on defense in that London game, if they were fully healthy out there, how that game would have been, if it would have been a different outcome. But I mean, look, you just go with it there. The Jags got a big win there against Buffalo, but I'm curious now if coming back to the States against a very sneaky, feisty team there, a frisky team in the Indianapolis Colts. Tom is going to take the Jaguars minus the 4, so he will take the money there at Everbank Stadium. Nick Morgasen, it's a Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins special on the NFL on CBS as the Carolina Panthers take on the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins a near 2-touchdown home favorite.
Now, you know what I'm going to say right off the bat. The line is big. It is huge. And I know everyone was very keen on that 12.5 lock against the Dolphins with the Giants last week. Now, obviously, the Giants, I think, are a worse team than the Panthers are right now, just from the standpoint of the way I look at both teams. But I don't know. They have an injury. I think Devon Achane is out on IR, right, for 4 games.
IR for 4 weeks.
He's another name that hit the injury report the IR this week. Yes.
So I think that's a massive injury for them because that really opened up the field. Now, they have plenty of other weapons. They have Tyreek. They have Waddle. Now, I heard they just acquired Chase Claypool, which really is just an embarrassment of riches at this point. Not that I would bet this game by any means, because 13.5 is a lot to cover. But from the standpoint of picking the game, I'm going to take them to cover, but I would stay away from this game from a betting standpoint.
So Devon Achane will not be missed in this game, number one. Number two, Carolina is the worst team in the NFL, not the Giants, but that doesn't matter here. I wasn't afraid to lock Miami last week. I think a lot of that had to also do with the fact that they were probably very mad after, having a reality check against the Bills 2 weeks ago. If I had to bet on a game, I wouldn't be afraid to bet on this game. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to the well again, and we are going to put a bench lock on this game. I am taking the Dolphins minus the 13.5 against the Panthers. This is not a fair fight. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Okay, so let's talk for a second, Nick. I really don't want to spend any time on this game because
I know.
But I mean, the Dolphins are putting up video game-like offensive numbers. Carolina has lost each of its 3 road contests by double digits, versus the Finns putting up 101 points and 1,250 yards in 2 games at Hard Rock Stadium. This might even be conservative saying it like this. I think it's 35-17 at least, Miami. And that might be conservative. But there's not really a lot of other great games. If you look at all the double-digit point spread games, I'm the most confident taking this one minus the home favorite, the favorite laying the points. This is the one I'm the most confident of the three. So it worked last week. I'm going to go to it this week. I'm taking the money with one of the best teams in the AFC against the worst team in the NFL. It's not a fair fight. I'm taking the money, and we're going to put a bench lock on it this here. Zan?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Miami here gets another freebie. I mean, you want to talk about how horrible the Carolina Panthers have been the last few weeks. Their pass defense has just been almost unwatchable, not to mention the fact that they're so bad that they can't even beat Minnesota. We want to talk about how bad Minnesota is on this show every single week, which just goes to show how horrible Carolina is. Miami is clearly one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the AFC, and them being at home just smells complete disaster for Carolina. Very similarly to the Giants game a week ago, I'm taking the Dolphins to cover, to win the game. And like you, Johnny, I'm also picking Miami as my bench lock because as you've alluded to before, how can you pick against a team that's literally averaging over 40 points a game? You can't pick against them. It's too easy.
You just do a 42 to the Lions. I mean, this could be 50 to 20, maybe even if I wanted to be nice.
This is shocking. This is shocking to me. A lot.
I know I'm shocking you again by going to the well again, but it worked last week. But I think you can understand our logic, though, right? Because you're picking one of the highest scoring teams in the league against the worst team in the NFL.
Okay,
it'd be different. I mean, I almost couldn't even make sense if this was the other way around. If this was in Carolina, then maybe it'd be a reach picking a 2-touchdown road favorite. But let's get to it. What's that?
Well, I was saying they're at home. That's why it seems easier than it looks. It's simple. It's as simple as that. They've dominated Hard Rock Stadium already this year. They made it look super easy against the Giants until the fourth quarter. What makes anybody else believe they won't do the same thing again?
It's not a question of winning. I'm just saying to lock 13.5 points is a lot to lock.
Well, last season, just real quick, I bench locked a 14.5 point favorite, so I'm not afraid to do it. There are some that I would stay away from, but I think this one is just gonna get really, really ugly. That's why I'm really the most confident in this one, and that's why I'm going to do it. By the way, you could put this game in the middle of Nebraska in a cornfield, and I'd still take the Dolphins.
Oh, Jesus.
Big D, what do you have?
Oh, the Dolphins easily. They've been dominant in their own stadium. The Panthers have been awful this year. The Dolphins are a very high-scoring team. I don't think the Panthers are even going to be able to keep it close. I mean, I wouldn't use it as my lock because it's a lot of points, but the Dolphins have been beyond dominant in their own stadium, and the Panthers still haven't won a game. They're clearly the bottom of the NFL right now.
Yeah, I feel like an idiot taking Carolina to win the division this year. Oof.
But that was never the question. Like I said, I know they're going to win. That's not the question. I'm just saying the line is huge. That was really the point I was getting at.
But I don't think it should be that hard for the Dolphins.
No.
And maybe the backdoor cover in the fourth quarter, but I don't think it's ever even going to get there. And Ben, what do we have?
Yeah, kind of two teams that are in opposite directions. Obviously, one team that's arguably one of the worst teams in football against one of the best teams in football. Give me the Dolphins to cover. They played really good at home this year. And I know Tua obviously is probably a little disappointed about giving up those 2 interceptions last week, but even last week he was fine. And the Dolphins won pretty convincingly last week. I think that the Dolphins win and they cover, and also my bench lock of the week.
Oh, here it is again. We got 3 so far. So we've had 2 guys. We've had 2 guys so far. No, 3 guys put a double-digit bench lock on the road, and 3 guys having a double-digit bench lock at home. By the way, I'm worried about Nick. I think he's going to have a coronary in just a second. Hank, what do we have?
Oh, no, JK, Dolphins.
And Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dolphins too. I've got my eye on a different game to be my lock, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins. It's not going to be a close game.
Yeah, and Tom also taking the Dolphins, a clean sweep down there at Hard Rock Stadium. I'll give you 2 other fun things about this game if you want to watch. If you want to watch this game, if you want to watch it, that's a big if.
I probably will.
Number one, Bryce Young against Tua Tagovailoa, two former Alabama quarterbacks, and number two, maybe Kevin Harlan will have a couple of cool things for this game since he is calling in, and this might.
I like that. That right? I like.
So there we go. So that'll keep everybody's interest maybe here in Miami. Ben, it's a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson special on CBS as your New England Patriots head to Allegiant Stadium to take on the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders are a field goal favorite.
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell Paul and a bunch of people that picked my Patriots last week that you guys don't have to pick us the rest of the year. We're probably the worst team in football, and my 28 years of being a Patriots fan, I've been pretty blessed, but this is probably the worst I've ever seen them play. So I'm going to have to pick against my team. I just can no trust against with them. This is a pretty dark moment for me, but I have to take it as it is. So yeah, give me the Raiders at -3. It's Patriots against Patriots West, but it's more of the battle of mid. Two teams are just really, really bad. So I have to pick the Raiders here, and hopefully maybe if I pick against my team, that'll maybe give us a little bit of love.
All right, Hank.
It's funny. I would go with the coin flip here, but here's what's preventing me from doing so. Number one, the Patriots are actually. Let me ask this question: did we try and travel back to like the 1990 or 1991 with how bad they are? And because I'm pretty sure. Are we sure that's Bill Belichick and not Rod Russ, the head coach? Or
yeah, it's rough, man. It's
are we sure that that's actually Gillette Stadium and not that dump known as Foxborough Stadium?
Ouch! Oh,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It wasn't great.
Okay, okay. In all seriousness, Josh McDaniels is also undefeated against Bill Belichick. Fun fact, and. For as bad of a head coach as he is, I don't see that changing, even though he tried to sabotage them last Monday, that is.
So you're taking Vegas then, right?
Yeah. Well, at least I'm convinced that Josh McDaniels is sabotaging. The only other explanation for what he did would be that he's brain dead, but
oh, Jesus.
Not a genius. All right, Paul.
Yeah, it was a tough one last week, taking the Patriots. I mean, obviously for Ben, it was more difficult than anyone else. But I'm as much as it pains me to say, I'm going to go with Vegas on this one. I would love to be able to take the Patriots, but just after last week, it was a really, really difficult one. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are any good. Not going to do anything this year. Still very, very low on them. But they might win by a handful. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything, even though this game's in Vegas. I think the Patriots will bounce back a little bit. But I'm going to go with the Raiders at -3.
Well, let's be clear. This is still a poverty franchise, right?
Still a poverty franchise, but have to go with them for the first time this season.
That's how bad we've been. We're struggling now, going to be potentially to losing to the Raiders.
I've been waiting for this game to come up on Football Friday.
Yours, Nick.
So the magic number is 72. 72 points the last two games the Patriots have given up. 38 and 34. It's been pretty bad defensively. It's also been pretty bad offensively with Mac Jones. Mac Jones has got to be benched. That's it. Mac Jones is done with New England. He cannot lead the team. He can't throw the ball. He can't do anything. It's time for him to be done in New England. And I thought I'd never say this against the Raiders, because the Raiders, like everyone else is saying, is poverty, and they stink. And somehow, with Garoppolo, they managed to stay on their feet. Yeah, this one's pretty. I was going to say pretty easy, but it's really not, because the Raiders will somehow screw this up. But yeah, I'm taking the Raiders to cover.
By the way, Ben, you're welcome. I also picked the Patriots last week. But if I had to do it over again, I still would have. The one thing I can trust in this game is the one thing Josh McDaniels is good at. Hank said it, beating the Patriots. the Patriots are averaging 11 points per game, which is the fewest since 2000. And I'll get to you, Ben, about this in a second. I would take the Patriots if Bailey Zappi was starting, but he's not starting. I'm taking the Raiders 17-10 over the Patriots. Zan?
Well, I guess a follow-up question before I get to my pick. Are you picking a 17-10 game where there's a fluke touchdown at the end, or are you picking, or are you picking a 17-10 game where
I know what he's talking about.
Right down to try to score to tie it and they can't do it? What do you think?
I think it'll be more along those lines. I'm looking at possibly this game even being 17-0 in the fourth quarter, and maybe the Patriots will start to rally there in the fourth, and they still come up a little bit short.
Okay,
that's kind of what I'm leaning at. I mean, this is not a game I'm going to be glued into at the bar at 4:00 in the late window there on Sunday.
Don't blame you.
That's fair. Well, first off, Jimmy Garoppolo against his former coach. That'll be a very interesting sight. Good to see, number one, and number two is a bunch of you guys have alluded to. This is the Josh McDaniels Super Bowl, if you will. He always coaches really well against Bill Belichick, and I just think overall this Patriots team is without a doubt in my lifetime, and I'm only 24 years old, but this is the worst Patriots team I've ever seen in my life. Give me the Raiders to cover the 3 and to win by a final score of 24-6, and I actually
ouch.
And I actually think this line should be more than it is. I think it should be a touchdown at least.
Ooh, I might have to go away if it's that. But Nick D, what do you have?
I totally like the Raiders here. Look, with Garoppolo, I think they're maybe an average team, maybe. But the Patriots offense has been horrible. What was it? They're 72. They're losing 72-3.
Yes.
In their past 2 games. Mac Jones, like you said, was awful. And there's no reason to trust the Patriots right now. Their only win was against the Jets. And as a road team, they looked pretty bad so far. They were kind of able to hold their own at home for a couple of games, but on the road, they look really, really bad. So I have to go with the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are like, okay. The Patriots right now look awful.
See, Tom's also going to take the Raiders. Ben, let me ask you a quick question here.
Yeah.
I mean, when are we seeing Bailey Zappi start under center there for New England? When do you think it's going to happen?
I mean, it doesn't really matter who you put back there. I mean, the offensive line is a mess. I mean, the team, I was saying off the air, the team's mentally broken. I mean, you lose 2 of your best defensive players in Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. Their receivers are essentially the worst in man coverage against teams. So essentially teams are playing man up on them and trying to Mac Jones for the football. I'm probably saying like a couple games, I'd say, I mean, but I think really anything's up for grabs at this point. I mean, the team is obviously going nowhere. I'm probably going to sell in a couple weeks. And so maybe even next week. I mean, there was potentially Will Greer talks, but essentially speaking, no matter who you put out there, that's not going to really matter because the offensive line is a mess.
We've seen those teams with the offensive lines. I know that firsthand, but we'll find out what happens there in Vegas. Paul, it's Adam Amin, the Moose, Daryl Johnston, and Pam Oliver on the NFL on Fox. This is a game that was flexed at a late window, and it's going to be a very good one. The Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. The Bucs going with their creamsicles in this one, and the Lions are a 3-point road favorite.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one because Tampa Bay has been playing pretty well, and especially at home too. They flexed and for a good reason they flexed it into one of the primetime slots. So I'm still going to go with the Lions on this one. I think that they're going to end up pulling it out, but this is going to be a close game back and forth.
Yeah. The Lions have been playing good football. I know that Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have surprised everybody, and they've made the Bucs look way better than they should. And I think I said it early on in the season that they should try to trade him at the deadline and try to get some value out of that, considering that Baker was supposed to be a zero, a nobody, basically a backup, and he went into the starter role, is actually doing it halfway decent. The Lions have too many weapons. I just think defensively they're better. offensively, they have better weapons. Take the cover on the road.
Guys, say it with me. Upset special. I'm going with the Buccaneers in this one.
Ooh.
Because everybody could be high on the 4-1 Lions, which I am, but we should also be relatively high on the 3-1 Buccaneers as well. They're coming off their bye week. The Lions are suffering a lot of injuries this week. If you've been paying attention here, we've got Emmanuel Mosley out for the year. He tore his ACL. Brian Branch is still banged up. Jameer Gibbs is dealing with a hamstring injury. Sam Laporta, their tight end, who's actually been playing great this year, showed up on the injury report this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been hurt. So while the Lions are fourth in scoring this year, just under 30 a game, the Buccaneers defense has also been very, very good, holding their opponents to 17 or fewer in 3 of the 4 games. They're tied for the NFL lead in the turnover margin with the 49ers and sacks. I think this game is going to be very close, and I'm taking the Creamsicles over the Honolulu Blue there in Tampa. I feel like this is a letdown spot with a lot of injuries there for Detroit. It's going to be a little bit of adversity, and I have a weird feeling here that the Bucs are going to pull this one out. So you know what? I'm going with the upset special here with the Bucs down there in Tampa, Zan.
Yeah, I love Tampa in this spot too. They might actually end up being the most underrated team in football right now. I just love the way Baker Mayfield's been playing, and as you alluded to, Detroit has just too many injuries for me to think that they can go down to Tampa and win in a spot that they've had some very inconsistent runs in there the last several years. Like you, I really like this Detroit Lions team. I love what Dan Campbell's been able to do, but this is without question a setback game, and this is a game I think for Tampa Bay. If they can win this one before divisional play really starts to ramp up, I think it'll give Baker Mayfield and the Bucs a lot of confidence. So give me Tampa Bay plus the 3, and give me the Bucs to win this game by a final score of 35-27 at home.
Nice. I like the high scoring affair. Nick D?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you guys are saying. Something tells me the Bucs are in for a letdown, and the Lions have looked really, really good all year. They had one game that wasn't so good, and even that game they probably should have won. They've won every game. Okay, so of all the games they won 3 of them in double digits, at least in double digits, and one of them against the Chiefs on the road. So their wins have been phenomenal this year. Right, I think that they look like a much more talented team, and something tells me that this game is going to be very high scoring. And as long as the Lions can kind of set the tone of the game and have it be more of a shootout, I think they should win and cover.
I wouldn't be surprised by that either. What do you think, Ben?
So I got the Lions winning, but I think the Bucs are going to cover. I think that the Lions are going to have a letdown, but I really like the Lions, obviously, a little bit better. Looking at both teams, Dan Campbell, Todd Bowles, I like the coaching matchup on the Lions side. And, yeah, I think that the Bucs defense has played pretty well this year, so I think they're going to make it a game at the end. But I think that the Lions are going to have a game-winning field goal to win this game.
Wow.
And Hank?
You know what? I'm actually going to go the same direction as Ben. I think the Lions will win, but the Bucs will find a way to cover. It's going to be, I'm going to say the final score will be 24-22 Detroit.
I like it.
Weird score.
I was really waiting for this game to jump up an extra half a point. I just was not able to get it because that would make me feel that much more. Yeah, I just see, for me personally, I'm just worried the big injuries that the Lions are dealing with right now that have come out this week. And it's looking like Mike Evans he's trending in the right direction for Tampa. So if he's able to play on Sunday, he's been dealing with a hamstring issue. He's going to test it out on Friday, and we'll know for sure. But if he's out there, that gives another weapon for Baker. And I'm not saying I trust Baker more than Goff. I just think that the injuries for the Lions might actually be one that takes a hit here, especially against this Buccaneers defense. And you know what? Tampa, who I had as a bottom 5 team, I mean, they've definitely exceeded my expectations. That's why we have to play the games here. I think this is going to be a very cool slot. Very cool game. I like the fact that this game was flexed into the late window with the other 2 ones coming up at 4:25 as well. And Tom here is going to take the Lions and the money down there in Tampa Bay. Zan, it's a Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake special on the NFL on Fox. It is the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. And the Rams are a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that unless you're a diehard Arizona or LA fan, there's a good chance you probably won't be seeing it. I just think overall this just isn't a very good quality game. I mean, the way Josh Dobbs played last week against Cincinnati really disappointed me. This Rams team is hot and cold. It's one of those games where you don't really know. I do think it is too many points though. So give me the Rams to win, but I actually think the Cardinals cover the 7 on the road at SoFi Stadium.
Nick D?
I mean, look, I wouldn't bet this game with real money, but I'm gonna have to go with the Rams. Even though the Cardinals have kind of been able to play it tough, they're like a sneaky tough team, though they don't win very much. I still think the Rams are much better right now. 7 points is tough. Like if it was 6.5, I would be a lot more confident in it. But 7 makes it a lot more difficult because 7 points is a push. So if they win, like, say, 30-23, I lose technically. But if I'm going to take either one of these teams right now, I would have to go with the Rams.
Ben?
Yeah, I agree with Nick in a way where the Cardinals have been pretty tough all year. But the Rams, I think personally, they're coming off of a tough one against the Eagles last week. They get Cooper Kupp back last week. He played pretty well. Not a shock there, but yeah, I think that the Rams are going to win this one. I think that they bounce back. Obviously, the Cardinals have been a surprising story this year, but I think they're going to come a little bit short in the end.
So Rams win and cover for Ben. Hank, what do you have?
I'm going to go with the Rams as well.
There it is. Paul?
Rams mine.
Yep.
I want to go with the Rams winning this, but I want to go with the Cardinals at +7. I want to say that they're able to cover. They play all of these teams really close. I think they're going to be able to keep this one pretty close. The Rams have been so up and down, so I'm going to go with the Cardinals at +7.
I'm with you, Paul. Good pick. I like that.
Absolutely. You helped me choose that one. That put me over the edge.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yeah, I think this is a bad game. It's an awful game. Not from the standpoint of either side. It's just not an entertaining game to watch whatsoever. But I wouldn't say the Rams are a roll-away favorite here. Like, even though it's they're -7, they've had their ups and their downs too. Let's not lie about this. Like they've had their injury woes and their playing woes, but I don't trust the Cardinals, even though they played good football. I'm going to take the Rams to cover. I just think they're a little better.
Yeah, I love the Rams laying the 7 here, guys. I think this is a bounce back, get right spot for Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua there after the tough loss to the Eagles last week. Cardinals are 1-8 in their last 9 games against the NFC West. And James Conner, another big name on injured reserve this week, was James Conner, the running back for the Cardinals, who was actually having a tremendous year there. And the problem with the Cardinals also is they've lost their last 5 road games. They're getting outscored by about 12 points per game in those contests. And they started off, if you wanted to put it from a betting perspective, they started off the year strong by covering the spread in each of the first 3 games, but they haven't covered in the number in the last 2 weeks. And I think this is going to be a 10-point game at least here. I'm taking the money with the Rams at SoFi Stadium here against the Cardinals. And let's see here. Tom, though, is going to take the Rams, but he's not taking the money, so he will take the Cardinals plus the 7 there at SoFi Stadium. Rams win, but Cardinals getting the money. I think that if this was another extra half a point, I would take the Cardinals getting the points here, but I just think this is a bounce-back spot there, and I think the rose has come off the thorn there for Arizona. You know, it was a nice start to the year, but I think now reality is starting to finally set in, and now without arguably the best option there for Arizona, I think it could start getting really, really bad there. So that's what we're going to do there at SoFi Stadium. And then we come back east. Nick DiMartino, it's Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, and Laura Oakman on the NFL on Fox as it's a battle of green. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles and Zach Wilson and your New York Football Jets. And the Jets are getting a touchdown at MetLife Stadium, Nick D.
All right, so it pains me to say this. I think you all know where I'm going. I'm taking the Eagles, and it's my lock of the week. We're going to get killed. First of all, you have to consider the fact that we have where the Jets are very injured this week. AVT and Mekhi Becton both out, and DJ Reed in concussion protocol. I mean, the Jets' offensive line is going to get manhandled. The Eagles' defensive line is going to kill us. I don't think the Jets honestly stand much of a chance. It would be nice to see them somehow. I don't even see. I get that the Eagles haven't blown anybody out, but this is such a bad mismatch, especially on the offensive line for the Jets. Zach Wilson needs a little bit of time. He's not going to have any. He's going to be under constant duress. He's probably going to be under more duress than any other quarterback in the league this week. It's going to be, I think, a disaster. And if you're a Jet fan considering going to this game, don't. It's not worth it. They're going to kill us. It's it. And by the way, in my survivor pool, I took the Eagles.
Wow.
Okay. It's a good call right there.
Congrats on making it to week 6 of your survivor pool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment to me.
Yeah, let's start there. Absolutely. And Dwayne Brown's still out too, right?
Yeah.
And also Vera out too. So
yeah. The Vera Tucker injury is just
so Mekhi Becton, the starting left tackle, and AVT. So the 2 starting tackles are both out.
Yeah, that's bad.
And that's bad. Rush. It's going to be that's not a good sign.
I can't believe the line went down as far as it did.
Well, so actually, I was looking at it earlier on Thursday, and there was at one point that this game was down to 6.5, and now it went back up to 7. I was wondering if it was going to jump north of 7, and it never did. But Nick Morgasen, you're our other Jet fan here. What do you think?
I'm so mad I didn't jump on that 6.5 when I had the chance.
Very short time that you had it. I'll look at it while you do this.
But this, I'm going to replicate everything Nick D said. That the Jets are going to get absolutely manhandled on Sunday. It's not even a question. And by the way, anyone who says that Zach Wilson is now turned it around because he won a game against the Broncos, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn if you want it. So Zach Wilson hasn't proven anything. Okay, he won one game against a flailing Broncos country that has not done well all year. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts is just going to outrun and outthrow the whole Jets defense alone. So this is the easiest. I was contemplating between the Niners and this game. I went with the Niners just because I think they're a much more explosive offense. But this would have been my second choice for a lock of the week. But yeah, this is a very easy cover.
So just a little behind the scenes here, folks. If we did this recording just a few hours earlier, the line was 6.5. But it was
by the way, I want to tell you, in my pick'em, in my CBS pick'em, it's 6.5.
Yeah, but the line that we use, the book that we
on DraftKings,
the book that we use, it was at 6.5 Thursday morning, but Thursday evening it jumped up to 7. So that's what we have to go with. Hank, what are you thinking? I'll go around the horn here.
Okay, well, fun fact, the Philadelphia Eagles have never in their history lost to the New York Jets. Do I think that's going to change? Nah, give me Philly.
Geez, shocker right there.
Yeah, I've been saving this game too. I think that this is going to be the lock of the week. I'm taking the Eagles at -7. The Jets just like Nick was saying, both their tackles are out. It's just a big mismatch, and it's not even going to be close. I don't think there's any chance that it's close. So that's my lock. Eagles -7.
By the way, can I just mention, Nick said, "Don't go if you're a Jet fan." You know the building's going to be bought out by so many Eagles fans, and trust me, I know what that's like, having been to many a giant Eagles.
Well, I went to one last year.
Well,
yeah,
if they might mistake it. They might mistake it for green, so that's why you might see a lot of green in the building still.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, they're going to take New Jersey
very
Transit
similar color green.
Well, I mean, it's not like
the wrong green.
You're going to take that New Jersey Transit, and then you're going to get off the train from Penn State, hearing that horrible Eagles.
Well, I mean, they don't make facial expressions like that, but
yeah.
You can tell I hate that franchise.
No. The last place I'm going to want to be this weekend is a sports book in Atlantic City.
Oh God.
That's going to be
By the way,
really bad.
By the way, Nick, speaking of Philly, guess who hit a home run not too long ago?
Oh no, not again.
Castellanos?
Again?
Wait, what's the score?
It's tied at 1 after 4 innings.
Guys, I have to go with Philadelphia. The offensive line injuries for the Jets, I think Nick D nailed it right at the open there. The offensive line injuries for the Jets, I think stopped me right there from taking the Jets plus the points, because I'm worried about Zach Wilson. Then I'm like, all right, then you can go to Breece Hall. Well, Breece Hall was the reason why I picked him last week. I think he's a non-factor this week. And yes, the Jets defense is good, but you're going to ask them to stop a very efficient run game with multiple backs and a passing attack that's starting to come around and feature top-end weapons with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. This is not going to be good. And also, from an offensive side, the Jets have scored multiple offensive touchdowns in just one game so far this year. What you're going to need is a pick. You're going to need a pick 6 from the Jets defense for me to really think that they're going to cover this game. I don't see it. I don't even think this is about Zach Wilson, because it's just that offensive line against the defense for the Eagles is just not a fair matchup. So I will take the money here at MetLife Stadium. Take Philadelphia minus the 7 against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, this Eagles team is just too good. You're gonna ask me to say that Zach Wilson at home can go up against the defending NFC champions and have any sort of a chance? No, thank you. Give me the Eagles to cover the 7 points and win this game by at least 17. I don't think the Jets have a chance, and maybe they might lead at the very beginning of the game 3-0, but that's it.
I think that's pretty spot on, actually.
What do we think here, Ben?
Yeah, with Nick saying about the offensive line, I knew that Vera Tucker was out for long term, but between Becton and Fluke and Reader, I think that's massive. I remember that Seahawks game against the Giants offensive line. I think that Zach Wilson is in for one of those games against the Eagles. Give me like a 24-10 type of game for the Eagles. I think that the Eagles are honestly kind of get their foot off the gas pedal, but I think that they'll kind of have it in hand where they'll kind of take the second half. I wouldn't say a little lightweight, but just, they won't be as aggressive. So yeah, give me 24-10 Eagles.
Nice pick.
Yep.
Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
Tom's also going to take the Eagles minus the 7 at MetLife Stadium.
Shocker.
Yeah, Nick, I wanted to. I'm trying to find a way to get the Jets plus the points.
There's no way. There's no way to get them plus the points.
No, there really isn't. A pick 6, really. That's it. That's what you have to get here. And I've had Eagles fans that I hang out with at the bar. They're very respectable, and I got to tell you, they come up to me and they're not even happy. The fact that they're happy they're 5-0, but they haven't liked the way they played this year. They think this is the get right. This is the game where they really take off. We'll
I don't think they look right. I know they're 5-0. They're not clicking right as they get.
That's why I feel like the Jets might have a chance here, but they're just too banged up on the offensive line. That's the problem. Maybe they can get something on defense, but it's still going to take a lot there. Again, this might have been an interesting spot.
Remember too, really quickly, last year. I remember early on last year, they were kind of like the Niners. They were just beating teams out left and right. Jalen Hurts was on an absolute hot streak. This year, I feel like there's more of I don't say like a disconnect, but they haven't really put everything together, and they're still 5-0, which pretty much says a lot about them. So if they turn up another notch, they're going to be up there in terms of Niners and NFC unstoppable.
Kind of scary when you think about it, and you wonder if they're going to make a move by the week 8 by the deadline on Halloween. That'd be something to watch there in Philadelphia. Hank, it's Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark on Sunday Night Football on NBC as the New York Football Giants, head to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills are north of a 2-touchdown favorite.
Well, there is some good news. Chris Kreider scored a shorthanded goal. Yes, 4-1.
By the way, how long has that guy been on the Rangers?
Since 2012, actually. Since I was a freshman in high school.
It feels like forever he's been on the Rangers.
Homegrown guy.
But oh, you thought I was going to say something optimistic about the Giants? Yeah, no. As much as I want the Giants to cover, with how bad our defense has been, actually it was okay yesterday, but considering the quarterback situation and considering it's another primetime game, I don't know what we deserve to get 4 Giants primetime games, honestly. Like, even Jaguar Gator 9 made a video saying that the Giants being scheduled for all those primetime games was ridiculous. So,
because they were the best story in football last
They
year.
outperformed last year. That's why they got more primetime games.
no, they're getting primetime games because they're New York and they're one of the flagship franchises of the NFL.
No. Oh, come on.
No, it's
Yeah,
more because
I
they
think
were
Hank's kind of right in that
expected to be
regard,
much
too.
better. Although
Yeah.
that's part of it too, probably.
No, it is. The Giants have been a popular.
But
always
here's the
wanted
thing,
to
though.
copy
Here's the
team.
thing. If that were the case, the Jets would have gotten a bunch of primetime games because they
True.
were also New York.
They
True,
still
but
do.
Well,
They've
yeah,
got
this
more
year
games.
because
You've
of
never gotten them.
Rodgers, the Jets previously have not gotten a lot of primetime games.
No, that's fair.
Well, in any event, yeah, no. I've tried to. If I try to think of any positive about the Giants, we'd be here all night. So, at least one New York team is beating a Buffalo team right now, and it's not in the sport. And it's not in the sport that we're discussing. So, give me the Bills.
So he's going to lay the 14.5. We'll go around the horn here. That's fine. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bills. I'll keep it quick. I'm going to go Bills 14.5. I think that it's a big spread. It's a big number. So I was kind of considering going with the Giants plus 14.5. But I mean, the Bills are going to win regardless. But I'm going to stick with the Bills.
All right, Nick, you were optimistic on them covering last week. What about this week?
14.5. That's got to be one of the biggest spreads we've seen in quite a while, probably on any sports book
year so far.
Now, I think Daniel Jones is probably going to be out with the neck injury. I would think that's where it seems to be leaning. Their offensive line is a turnstile, like in Penn Station. Everyone's just walking through it and not stopping.
Criminal.
So, well, their offensive line is a joke. How many sacks did he get? Did Daniel Jones have last week?
Well, how about
6?
How about 7? How about 17 in the last 7 quarters, guys? Maybe that 17th sack is what caused him to get injured.
And that's the problem. He's being sacked too much. The one thing I will say that is the detriment of Daniel Jones is when the pocket collapses, he does not leave the pocket. That is the biggest issue with Daniel Jones.
He has
When the
awful pocket presence.
But that's what I'm saying. He needs to, when that pocket collapses, he's got to run and get away from the rush, which he does not do. And he's going to do it again. And I can't remember saying this. I'm taking the Bills to cover, even though it's a big number. But I don't know if I would bet it, but take the number.
And can I just say this too? I don't know if you saw one of those sacks, but watching the film of that was absolutely disgusting. Evan Neal is blind, and I'd rather him be the one working at a McDonald's instead of like burger flippers that he criticized.
Oh man. First off, you don't mess with neck injuries, number one. So if there's any like hesitation, and he didn't practice on Thursday, Daniel Jones, so I'd be shocked if he's out there on Sunday. I'm like, you know what the hell? Put Tyrod Taylor out there. Let's see what he's got against his former team. But as far as trying to discuss this game, here's what I say about this game. I watched Carrie Underwood's open. I watched Tarico and sidelines and Tarico and Collinsworth's intro. I watched Melissa Stark's sideline report. Maybe a few drives with Tyrod Taylor if he's under there, and then I call it a night. Now, that being said, though, even with how horrific the Giants have looked, I'm tempted to take them getting the points because the Bills are so banged up defensively that I almost can see this game being like a 31-17 final, and that's inside the 14.5. And maybe with Tyrod Taylor, they maybe get a little bit of something. But they also haven't showed me anything because I know what's crazy was they lost by 15 last week, and that was their best game of the year.
So is that a long? Wait a minute. Is that a long rebuttal to you're taking the Bills to cover?
at the end of the day, I got to take the Buffalo. I got to take the money. I can't find a way. I mean, I'm trying to find ways to sucker in taking the points because they're trying. What Nick D will tell you this line is almost telling you they are begging you to take the Giants. So
I agree with it too. They're trying to tempt you.
Out of 100, when the line does that, I go the other way. And that's what I'm going to do. And at this point, what the hell is the difference if I lose 31? If I pick the Bills and they lose 30 and the Bills win 31-17? Well, I mean, what's the difference? You know,
well, you lose the money.
Johnny, you're a better man than I am.
Nick D, I've had enough bad beats this year. I took a team that was laying 1.5, and that team won by a point. All right. So what's the difference here? The backdoor cover may come in. The Giants, Buffalo's also going to be mad with the way they played last week, and I've spent way too much time on this game. Zan, go ahead.
I don't know. So I don't know. I just think overall, like as you alluded to before, the Giants did play their best game a year ago or a week ago, but still, it's just like this Bills team, even with the defensive woes. I mean, I am a little biased because I do have Josh Allen on my fantasy team, so I do think the Bills can win in this spot, and I actually do think they cover the points. I actually like the Bills to win this game by 16, but the Giants keep it close until halftime, and the Bills run away with it late. I expect a huge day out of Josh Allen, and I actually like Gabe Davis to catch a touchdown or two. So we'll see if that works out.
So that almost sounds like a carbon copy of last week then, because the Giants did actually keep it close for a little while there with Miami. Actually did play all right defensively in some points, but Miami's just way too good. That's kind of like where I feel it's going to go right here. Nick D, what do you have?
Oh, the Bills. I think you got a point that they might be begging you to take the Giants with that extra half a point. But I think the Bills are. I mean, after a really bad letdown last week. I think they're due to like blow somebody out. It's just like after the week after they lost to the Jets. And the Giants have looked awful this year. I mean, their only win was against the Cardinals, and they needed a comeback to win that. They're like, I mean, they're almost as bad as the Panthers right now. So I think the Bills should be able to just blow them out. I mean, the only saving grace is that Tyrod Taylor is going to be playing instead of Daniel Jones. That's the only thing that might make me hesitate a little bit, because I think with a collapsing pocket, Tyrod Taylor can handle that a little better than Daniel Jones, and they probably don't have it's probably they don't have, he's something new, so their defense probably doesn't have film on him as easily and stuff like that. But I mean, the Bills should kill him.
All right, Zan, what do we have here? I mean, I'm sorry, Zan, I had you already. Ben.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very thankful that the Major League Baseball decided to put the ALCS 8:15 Sunday night. So I'll be watching something else besides this game. But with that being said, the Giants-Bills game, I agree with Hank. I mean, I can't really talk because my team has been great this year, but I don't know why the Giants and Jets have been on primetime so much this year. This feels like an explosion with the Bills. The Bills had a letdown, like Nick mentioned, against the Jags last week, and they still put up decent amount of numbers. Listen, the Giants going to be without, obviously, Daniel Jones, obviously the neck injury. I don't expect him to play. Wan'Dale Robinson, 3 of their starting offensive linemen. It just feels like it's not going to be going into Orchard Park. I know that feeling for the last couple of years. It feels like a good get-right game for Josh Allen company. And, just really thankful that Texas Rangers and the Astros are going to be playing during that. So
you might be in the minority there because this football game will still outdraw that game, though. That's the thing.
Yep.
Tom's also taking the Bills here, laying the money. I got to say one thing, though, too. For any outside hope that I had of Saquon Barkley coming back, he's still been limited in practice here these last couple of weeks. And the thing that I just don't get is, and I saw this from Jordan Rodon, who covers the Giants for ESPN, is he was talking about the fact that Saquon's dealing with a high ankle sprain. And I was like, well, wait a second. You told me – I was told at first that this was an ordinary sprain, and ordinary sprains are a couple of weeks. High ankle sprains are 4 to 6 week injuries for running backs. So what exactly is it that he's dealing with? Is it a high ankle sprain or not? I mean but I'll tell you what, Saquon doesn't play Sunday. That'll be his 24th game that he's missed because of injury. And that is why this is going to be his last year as a Giant. Nick and I had talked about this too. I thought the way they handled this offseason was smart, was correct in giving Jones the extension and only franchising Barkley, because Barkley this year I think is going to be gone. There's no way you can extend him if he's going to be missing this amount of time, and he can't be that reliable. I mean, I can go out there and get a running back on the cheap, maybe not be as explosive, but I mean, that's why I was proposing the Giants to go bring in Zeke in here. I know Ben would have liked that, bring Zeke in. But we'll find out. Again, if Tyrod's starting and it looks like it's going to be that way, I'll probably tune in for a few series. But then at the end of the day, that'll probably be it there up in Orchard Park. Zan, it's Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters on Monday Night Football on ESPN as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium, and the boys are 2-point road favorite.
Yeah, this line is too close for comfort. I love the Chargers in this spot here. I think Justin Herbert thrives when it's run, and I know that that's a bold take. I just think that this is one of those games where if he can win this game, I think he'll get back in the good graces of a lot of people. And Dallas just seems to me like they're in free fall, and it seems that the pressure is just too much for them to handle, especially after they just played absolutely a gutless performance a week ago in San Francisco. So give me the Chargers to cover the spread, and I actually think this game to be a shootout. I think the total in this game will reach approximately 56 points. I think it's to be a super high scoring that comes down to either the last play of the game or goes to overtime. But give me Herbert and the Chargers to win on Monday Night Football.
All right, Nick D.
Yeah, well, I definitely like Dallas. They're laying less than a field goal right now, coming off of just a massacre against the Niners. I think I think they're due for a bounce back game. And the Chargers, I mean, I think the Chargers are a good team, but I mean, they make so many mistakes that I really just don't trust them to win this. And it's under a field goal. So I really like Dallas this game. They should win by more than a field goal.
Ben Kruse.
Yeah, so this was a game I was kind of contemplating, kind of two teams with really bad head coaches. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Mike McCarthy, and I'm really not a fan of Brandon Staley. So with that being said, I mean, something has to give, I guess. The biggest thing about this game is Austin Eckler's back for the Chargers, and he helps a lot on the offense. They're coming off of a bye. Dallas, obviously, is coming off of a blowout loss to San Fran. So, man, I mean, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. I take Herbert. It's in, it's in LA. I'm gonna go bold here. Give me upset special. The +2. I'm gonna go with the Chargers to win, and win outright. I think that this feels like just a game, like a trap game for Dallas. Dallas obviously blew us out. I mean, they won a couple other games beforehand. They have a decent defense. But I think that, it's a Monday night game. I feel like the Chargers might be able to come out on top of this one. So I'm going to go build there and go with the +2 with the Chargers.
All right, Hank.
Oh, boy. Let's see. Mike McCarthy, Brandon Staley. Actually, let me move my screen.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mike McCarthy, Brandon Staley. Yeah, they both suck, but oh, you know what? I gotta take the Cowboys because
Wow.
as much as I want to say Mike McCarthy, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? I think that saying should be amplified for Brandon Staley. I mean, look at the films of all the Charger games. Like, why do you think they're all that close?
Yeah, that seesaw never got off the ground, Hank.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Flat.
yeah, exactly. But Mike McCarthy just tips the scales just a little bit.
Just a little. I like
Figuratively and literally.
Oh man. All right, Paul, what do you think here? There it is.
Yeah, this was going to be a close one. I'm going to go with the Cowboys at -2. I can't take the Chargers. It's a very, very small number. I would not bet on this game at all, like with my actual money. But I'll go with the Cowboys at -2.
What do you think here, Nick?
So the Cowboys were shrunk. They were smaller than mini me on the last primetime game.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Nick, you
That-
could have played. You could have played quarterback for them and still lost.
that was a whole disaster. There's also quite a few injuries on the Cowboys front during that game. Also, there's reports already that Tony Pollard was limited in practice, so that might become a factor on the Cowboys side. Even though like the Chargers are not great, I still think they're a better. I think they could compete with the Cowboys. I still don't understand why ESPN and other outlets give them massive attention, considering that they're not a top team right now in the NFL. I don't think they're a top team in the NFL. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get looks, but I just don't think they're
crazy.
That was a
even if you
horrible
wanna argue
loss.
that they're not a top team. They're still a top brand. So
That's
even
so-
if the
yeah.
I'm not
Cowboys
talking
don't
about
win-
brand. Forget brand.
But
The
that's why
brand
they
that
that's why ESPN gives them attention.
That's part of it though. That's what
it's so stupid though. The Cowboys are not play. They're treated. ESPN's treating them like they're a Super Bowl team. Johnny and I have had this conversation many times. That ESPN treats the Cowboys like they're royalty when they haven't played like royalty since when, the 90s?
Nick, can I say my Cowboys joke that I've used with you before?
Yes.
What do the Cowboys and Pamela Anderson both have in common?
Oh God. What was it again?
They were both far more relevant in the 90s.
Thank you. That was my point. Yeah, I have an upset special. I would actually, again, I would take money line and actually take the Chargers outright to win this game. I think the Cowboys are way overhyped. They got exposed against the Niners. The Chargers are going to win this game.
I agree. Good pick, Nick. I agree with that. I'm with
Thank
you.
So I got to tell you, this is game number 15 of week 6. I think this is the toughest game against the spread to pick. Well, first off, before we do anything else, this is the Kellen Moore revenge game.
That's right.
That's right, yeah.
But you know what makes this game difficult? This is the team I can't stand versus the team I can't trust.
Wait a minute. This would have been the Tom Albano game.
So who do you
Johnny.
take? A team you can't stand versus a team you can't trust.
If in that scenario, I have to go with the team that I can't stand.
There you go.
And that is Dallas. I know the Chargers are coming off their bye week. Nick D, I think I'm with you 100% because the line is so low. It's not like they're laying 3.5. I mean, you're asking to win by a field goal, and they've had moments where they've been below water, and then they rise back up to the point where probably the talking point will be this week that Dallas is back in the Super Bowl conversation. I think they're more in the top 10. I don't say they're in the top 5. I think they're more top 10, if that. There's a lot of question marks with them, but the Chargers are such a tough team to figure out too. That's why I think Dallas can play ugly and still win this game by a field goal. So that is what I'm going to do. I am going to take the money, Cowboys against the Chargers. I'm going to go with the team that I can't stand because, like you said, I can't trust the Chargers. And yes, Brandon Staley's been bailed out at least twice this year, and that can only go for so long. So I will take the money with the Cowboys. Tom is going to go the other way. He is taking the Chargers over the Cowboys on Monday night. So a split decision to wrap up week number 6 in the NFL. Kind of what this week's been like. As you can see, we are split on a lot of games this week. We've got some very unique point spreads, some very unique bench locks, all mostly taking double-digit teams laying the points in this one. So, guys, we're going to be a third of the way through the year after Monday night. So that'll be like a first true NFL checkpoint. And like you've been seeing here during the recording, this is the time of the year where it gets to be a lot of fun. We've got obviously the NFL. We've got college football about halfway through. What a year it's been there. Baseball in its postseason. Hockey's just starting. Basketball's not that far away. So a little bit of everything here, and that's what October is, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be back with you again next week for a lot more. Of course, check us out on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network, where if you like our Football Fridays and our Monty Moments and all of our content, leave us a like. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Of course, have your notifications set so you never miss another episode of any of our shows. You can also check us out at etbpodcast.com for great blog posts from all of our guys, including Hank. I know he's got some out, including one about the MLB postseason, which I know Nick and I also contributed to. So check that out as well. And if you can't watch us. Make sure you get us on the go. You can listen to Football Friday wherever you get your favorite podcast as well. And I know in the coming weeks we might have some great news as well. And like I said, this Football Friday show just keeps growing. So, guys, you all have a great weekend.
Looking forward to it.
You too.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it should be a great one. So, for Hank Indictor, Paul Lombardi, Nick Morgasen, Ben Kruse, Nick DiMartino, Zain Bando, and Tom Albano, I'm Johnny Montalbano. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll catch you all again next week.
Peace.